Jason La Canfora, a few more minutes left with him. The Antonio Brown stuff, where does that stand? New league year opens next week. Does he go somewhere?
Yeah, he does. I can tell you this. They won't dump him just to dump him to get around the roster bonus. I mean, at this point, they're all in on taking a $20 million cap hit and having Antonio Brown be something of a sunk cost. So they're not going to just ship him for a 5, let's just get rid of him before we have to pay him any roster bonus or anything like that. That won't be a factor. His actions haven't helped them. It's taken a market that a lot of people thought would form in a fairly robust manner, and it's turned it into sort of a dribble here and a dribble there. But I still think they can get better than a third-round pick for him. I think they can get a second-round pick for him. Oakland's got a ton of picks. The Eagles have been monitoring that situation, and there's not too many deals made in this league that Howie Roseman doesn't at least consider making himself for players of this caliber. Washington, maybe. I hear there's a split in that organization about, whether this really makes sense for them right now. But ultimately, if Dan Snyder gets his way, and he does, I don't think you could completely rule them out by any stretch. But yeah, it's not what it could have been had he handled this differently, and frankly, had they handled it differently. And
then last one for you, Lev Bell. That's the one thing that I was hearing is look out for the Colts with their monster cap room that he might wind up there in Indianapolis. That's what I heard when I left the building. What do you think?
I don't think that's what Chris Ballard does. I think the culture he's trying to build there and the little engine that could, and knowing what he has in Andrew Luck, and they ran the ball. I'm not saying Marlon Mack is Le'Veon Bell, but they liked some of the different types of backs they have and the different ways they can skin that cat. I hear much more about them on wide receivers than I do about Le'Veon Bell. And certainly if they can get their hands on pass rush, that's a priority. And defense more than anything else is, I think, if he's making a big-ticket item like that, I think it's a receiver and or a defensive player.
Which receiver?
Whether that be a corner.
Which receiver?
Or a pass rusher. I think the Raiders maybe with Le'Veon Bell. I think
Jets.
I mean, a lot of talk about the Jets, but what I've heard lately is that the Jets would be content to go with Tevin Coleman if Le'Veon Bell's money goes anywhere near where he wants it to go. I personally don't think it gets to that stratosphere.
The Rich Eisen Show, weekdays at noon Eastern on Audience.